You're listening to the Healthy in Real Life podcast, episode number 192. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. This is Gina, creator of the Fitnessista blog and brand. I'm so excited that you're here today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Before we head into today's episode, I have a favor to ask you. If you wouldn't mind just pressing pause and leaving that 5-star review wherever you're listening today, it would mean the world to me. It really helps with the visibility of the podcast, helps me to continue the amazing guests that you hear each week, and I genuinely appreciate your help so much. So please leave that 5-star review if you enjoy the show, and then head to fitnessista.com/podcast review. So fitnessista.com/podcast review, and I'll send you my bar blast workout for free. So it's super fun mix of classic bar exercises with cardio blasts. I think you will love it. All right. So before we head into today's episode, I wanted to tell you about the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute. This has completely changed my life, and I'm not exaggerating. It has been such a game changer for myself, for my family, my clients, and also my business. I'm so passionate about this. I'm a level 2 integrative health practitioner, currently working on my level 3 certification. Dr. Stephen Cabral leads the modules. He is incredible. He is the real deal, and he helps you go through his de-stress protocol. So that's all in level 1, how to help with the foundation. So diet, exercise, stress reduction, toxin removal, rest, emotional balance, success mindset, and supplementation. So all of the foundations are covered in level 1. And then in level 2 is when you learn how to run, analyze, and suggest recommending protocols for functional medicine labs. So this was such a huge game changer for me. I had used these labs myself. Initially, when we couldn't get pregnant, I worked with a naturopath, and this was 15 years ago now. So they were very new, not something that a lot of people were talking about. I was the weirdo, like spitting into these tubes to collect saliva, and I was able to find out so much about my body that conventional medicine had missed. I've used them since then when I thought and was told that things were hopeless or that we would have to deal with it, and functional medicine enabled me to solve the problems for the root causes behind what was happening. So such a game changer for looking at deficiencies and toxicities in the body, and then you will learn how to help the body rebalance. It's what I used on myself when I had autoimmune issues. They told me that I most likely had lupus, referred me to rheumatology, and I was able to restabilize my body. Both of my lupus markers are negative. They've been negative for over a year, and that was all due to following these protocols, using these labs on myself, and healing my body from the inside out. So I can't speak highly enough about it. If you are interested in learning more, I have a link in the show notes, and you can enter the code FITNESSISTA, so FITNESSISTA, for up to $250 off levels 1 and 2. I definitely recommend doing both. It's the full package, and you can do this whether you work in the fitness or health industry. Lots of doctors, nurses, dentists, chiropractors do these certifications, personal trainers like myself, massage therapist, or you could work in something completely unrelated and just be passionate about this. So if you have that little voice in your head that's whispering, I really want to do this, I really want to learn more, head to the link in my show notes, enter the code FITNESSISTA to get your discount, and I will be cheering for you the entire time. You're going to absolutely love it. All right, friends, so let's head into today's episode. So I'm so pumped to be talking with Collier. Again, she has been on the show before back in 2021, and she is the co-founder and VP of Health at NutriSense, which is one of my favorite companies. It's one of the fastest growing health tech startups in the US. I love using NutriSense. I recommend it to so many of my clients just to see what's going on with blood sugar regulation. I'm going to put on a sensor this week. It's such a cool company because you can actually look and see how your habits are impacting your blood sugar. So they've done amazing work. We're talking about metabolic health and how that impacts your mental mental and physical performance, also the importance of human connection when you're working with a health coach. She also shares tips on wearing a continuous glucose monitor if you're nervous about using it for the first time, her tips for being healthy in real life, and so much more. I also have a discount code if you decide you want to try NutriSense. Just enter the code GINA30. The link is in the show notes, and that'll get you 30% off. I can't recommend it enough. So she is a wealth of knowledge. I'm so glad that she's here today. Here's a little bit more about Kara. So she's reshaping how we approach prevention, behavior change, and metabolic health. A registered dietitian, nutritionist, and certified nutrition support clinician, Kara has helped over 150,000 people improve their health by combining real-time data like continuous glucose monitoring with personalized coaching and practical lifestyle strategies. She's a passionate advocate for how technology and human support can drive sustainable health change. She's a Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree and has been recognized with Health's Food as Medicine Award. Her work has been featured by Forbes, UC Berkeley, and MedCity News, and she's a frequent speaker at health conferences and podcasts. When she's not talking about health and data, she's usually exploring the mountains, playing volleyball, or lifting heavy things. I loved our conversation. I hope you enjoy it too. Welcome back to the show, Kara.
Welcome to the Healthy in Real Life podcast, bite-sized tips for healthy living that you can implement right now. Join us weekly for interviews and real-life advice for creating the happiest and healthiest version of yourself. Here's your host, fitness expert, author, and mom of two, Gina Harney.
Hey, Kara, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to chat.
Yes, I'm so glad you're here. Kara was back on the podcast in 2021, so you guys have to check out that episode. But for my friends that are listening who are newer to the show, would you mind just sharing some background about yourself and how NutriSense was started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a dietitian originally. I got into that field because I wanted to help people and make people healthier. And then when I started my career working in the hospital systems, traditional healthcare, I very quickly realized that I wasn't able to actually achieve that goal of helping people very, very often at all. So it's primarily working in ICUs, critical care nutrition. And what I was seeing was not maybe what you expect in the ER or in the ICU, but instead it was complications of lifestyle related conditions. People needing to get their legs amputated because of uncontrolled diabetes. So there was a lot of suffering and pain that felt really unnecessary. And I was interacting with these patients decades too late. So that was really the impetus, kind of some of those firsthand experiences in the hospital system that was very frustrating, that eventually led to creating and starting NutriSense back in 2019. So when we were building the platform and the program for NutriSense, what we really wanted to address was how to improve metabolic health for individuals, because I really view that as sort of the root cause for a lot of these chronic conditions. And we also wanted to create a platform and a device that was engaging and would actually drive real behavior change, because you can tell somebody what to do. You can tell them 30, 40 years earlier, then complications come. But if they aren't able to really turn that into habits, then it's not very effective. So out of that kind of was born the NutriSense program, which is using continuous glucose monitoring and dietitian coaching to kind of really help people feel empowered to take control of their health.
Yes, I love that so much. I've been a fan of NutriSense for so many years now. I just think it's such an empowering tool that people can use, because so many people are borderline type 2 diabetes and they don't know, or they go to the doctor and they tell them their labs are normal. They're a little high, but let's just watch it. But in that let's just watch it phase, there are things that you could be doing. So NutriSense really helps you look at the data and see how your habits, your stress levels, alcohol intake, the things you're eating, your exercise, your sleep, how all of these things impact your blood sugar, which obviously impacts your metabolic health, your longevity. I think that's a huge topic in the wellness space right now. So many people are talking about insulin resistance and metabolic health. Would you kind of break down what metabolic health means and also how it impacts performance?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we think about metabolic health, it's really all of the processes, which are many, many, that are required to turn nutrients, your food into actual energy. So think about it as everything needed to digest food, absorb, process, transport those energy, excrete waste, bring nutrients to where they need to be, anything that is turning energy into fuel. So if you really think about that, it's kind of like an engine inside of a car. And so it's what's really helping everything work together. And glucose is sort of like the fuel system for that engine as well. And so when it works really well, it's very efficient, right? We're able to utilize energy in just the right way, and our body operates really efficiently. But when there are any sort of breakages, so some signs of metabolic dysfunction or insulin resistance, then think of that as something like a leak in a gas pump. Or some sort of broken part in the car. And so things run inefficiently. And that's sort of what happens. And it takes decades for that to develop. And by the time we have a diagnosis of diabetes or even pre-diabetes, that's usually decades of some wear and tear on the system. So when we can detect those early, of course, we see much better outcomes. But what's really important when we think about what metabolic health is that it's not just an indicator for diabetes or no diabetes. It's really affecting how we process energy. So that, of course, impacts the long-term view of health. So things like other disease states besides diabetes, such as cardiovascular disease, dementia, other neurological conditions, some cancers, but it also impacts how our immune system functions, how our hormones are balanced. But then there's also the short term. So if this is our actual energy system, it affects how we feel, how much energy we have in our day to day. And it also really impacts our brain's ability to function clearly. So mental acuity, cognitive function, concentration, memory, all those things are really dependent on our energy system being fine tuned. And that also then trickles down into mental health. So feelings of stress and anxiety can be tied to this. So those are sort of more of the short term kind of day to day implications of good metabolic health is how is your day to day energy feeling? So of course, everybody can relate to kind of feeling that midday crash in the middle of the day. But as I mentioned, it's also kind of the small things about kind of feeling focused, feeling sharp, feeling on point. When we have that efficient energy system, all of those things are impacted.
That absolutely makes sense. And I'm glad you mentioned mental health too, because I think blood sugar is so tied to that. You see women just riding these highs and lows all day, and especially children as well. I notice it in my own kids, like our youngest, she's just really sensitive to her blood sugar dropping. And I'm like, you're hangry right now. It's okay. Like you're so upset, but you just need to eat some food, get some protein in your body, and you'll be okay. And it makes a difference instantly. So it's wild to see the impact that it can have. I imagine you guys have a ton of data from doing this from so many years. What are some of the themes that you commonly see, or maybe some mistakes or low-hanging fruit that you're like, I see this all the time. I wish that everyone would do these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the interesting things about wearing these devices is the differences between people. So the bio individuality. So one truth is that you will in some way be unique compared to someone else. So there's always that caveat of people really responding differently. But as you mentioned, when we've worked with hundreds of thousands of people at this point, you start to see really clear trends. So one of the big ones is kind of the concept of naked carbohydrates. So, eating a carbohydrate by itself, especially on an empty stomach. So, first thing in the morning, eating a banana, or you haven't eaten all day and then you go out to dinner, happy hour with your friends, and you have margarita and chips and salsa before your food comes. Those types of situations will lead to much, much more dramatic glucose spikes and that kind of roller coaster you were mentioning where instead, if you eat a little bit of protein first, that makes a huge difference. So that's a big one. Another one is just getting in some movement. So basic movement. Exercise is incredibly important. And we also want everybody to be strength training and doing zone 2 training. But any type of movement helps. So if you can get in a 10-minute walk after you eat or upon waking, or if you can just kind of move around throughout the day, if you have a desk job, once an hour, kind of set an alarm to go off or do 5 body weight squats, do whatever you need to do to just move a little bit. that actually makes a really, really big difference. And then a third one I'll mention, I could probably do 20 of these, but another one is really just being aware of stress. So this is a huge one where most people have a difficult time quantifying how much stress they might have. So it's different than being like, oh, I think I slept for 8 hours last night, to be able to say, oh, I think I have really high stress levels. So being mindful of that and trying to enter that parasympathetic state before eating, especially, can make a really big difference in actually how well you're able to digest that food, but it also process the food and kind of maintain better glucose levels. So we see people when they're eating in a stress state, maybe at their desk for work, and they're multitasking, their boss is calling them and they're shoving some food in their face, they have a much higher glucose spike than if they ate that same exact meal at a different time of day where they're relaxed with their family, kind of eating slowly and mindfully. So, kind of being aware of what nervous system state are you in when you're eating a meal can also make a really big difference.
100%. And something that I did personally is I stopped eating in the car. I used to eat in the
Mm.
car a lot because I was driving our kids around constantly, but I was stressed while I was eating.
Yeah.
And it will spike your blood sugar. So it makes such a huge difference to actually sit down, eat a meal, take your time, even go outside if you can and
Mhm.
eat your meal outside. It just makes such a huge difference. So yeah, I totally agree with all of those. As far as the nutrition coaching goes, I think that that's something that really sets NutriSense apart with how you guys structure the nutrition coaching. Can you share a little bit more about that and how that works?
Yeah. And that, if it was 2021 when we last spoke, it's changed quite a bit since then.
Different
So,
now. Yes.
yeah, the dietitians have always been part of the solution because we've really have a strong belief that data plus humans really help drive that behavior change. Health transformation and health change is kind of a social experience. It's a life experience. So, kind of combining that with humans is very important. But in the beginning days, it was always kind of chat access. So you were assigned a dietitian and you could chat with them at any time. So it might be kind of random questions like, why did my glucose do this? Or bigger topics like, I have 60 pounds to lose. How do I even go about thinking about this? But about a year and a half ago now, we started taking insurance, so commercial insurance, to do telehealth dietitian sessions so that we could spend more time with our clients. So now we'll run your insurance. And for most people who have commercial insurance, they pay zero out of pocket. Surprisingly, this is one of the things healthcare actually does pretty well, is there's really good coverage for preventative nutrition support, believe it or not. So most people pay $0 and they can do those kind of more hour long or 30 minutes if you prefer deep dive sessions with our dietitians to go over their data or kind of make a plan and get more in the weeds on kind of some of that behavior change.
Okay, that's huge. And you mentioned, like you said, human a few times, and it just kind of set the light bulb off for me with the AI and how it's taking over everything right now. So how do you think that it impacts clients to have a human helping them versus a bot or an AI driven coaching system?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's AI is not going anywhere, of course, and we utilize it in many ways. So we use it to help support our dietitians, so make their charting easier, make their admin tasks easier. We use it to kind of answer routine questions for our customers that it's easier for a chatbot to answer. We use it to make things internally more efficient, but I really believe, and we believe as a company, that healing and behavior change and health is a really human experience, to my earlier point. And we just see this craving still for human connection from our customers. And maybe that means the human role will be less about telling people kind of the facts and the information and be more about just being a support system and helping people. That's where I see probably the world changing, is maybe an AI system is actually going to be better at telling you the actual like data and the information. But it doesn't feel the same to be seen from an AI bot than from another human. So when you get on a call with someone and you talk about your 40 years of dieting and difficulty with a healthy relationship with food and maybe shame about your weight, and to have somebody on the other end see you and validate your feelings and be there for you, I think that's an experience that is really important to really be able to drive that lasting behavior change.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think that it matters so much to have someone who's invested in your journey too, someone who actually cares. So it's nice to know like this coach actually cares about me as a person. They're invested in my health. And I think that that makes such a huge difference. I've tried a lot of different platforms just so I can try all the things. And when my clients come to me, I know what they're talking about. And I tried one and it was all bot driven.
Mm.
And I was like, I hate everything about this. Like you can tell it's a bot,
Yeah.
doesn't care. And so, yeah, I think that the human connection is so important.
Yeah. And for the accountability factor, I don't see, at least at this point in time, that people feel as accountable to a bot, where it's like, if I know I'm meeting with my dietitian every 2 weeks and it's like, I said I was going to do this thing and we've built this relationship and this rapport, you're more likely to be like, they're going to check in on me. I'm going to do it. But if the bot checks in on you, you're like, I don't really care. It's not the same level of motivation and accountability either. And like I said, it might be helpful for quick transactional information. So, if I'm at a restaurant, is this versus this a better option? You want an instant answer. That's where an AI bot might be much more preferable. But for kind of the hard human things, I still think another human is far superior.
Yes, 100%. So how often do you wear a CGM?
Pretty often still, actually. I don't have one on right now, but I recently just took one off. So in the beginning days when I was first wearing them, when we were first starting the company, I was wearing it kind of nonstop and constantly learning. And
Mhm.
then there eventually becomes to shift more to the behavior change element, and kind of one of our customers called it his truth meter. And that's my favorite way to describe it. Where I'm like, oh man, like we just had a holiday or something. And I'm like, I need to put a CGM on because I need to get back in my routine. So I do it a lot for kind of checking back in. But every time I wear one, maybe once a quarter at this point, I do learn something new still, where I'm like, oh, actually, I don't think I've ever eaten this thing while wearing one. So there is constant learnings to be had. And the other thing to mention is that people go through different seasons of life, right? How I'm eating right now versus 4 years ago when we talked, when I was living in a different area and like different lifestyle, is different. So as your life changes, I think it's good to use as an ability to like check in and see where you're at, kind of like annual labs or kind of your annual physical, versus needing to wear it 24/7.
Yes, I'm the same way. I like to do it every few months just to check in, see what's going on. But my A1C has gone down
Mm,
steadily since I started using it, and just from like little tweaks that you can make in your routine. And it's interesting to see too how different foods will impact your blood sugar throughout the day. So if you have something for dinner, it might spike it more than if you had it for breakfast or for lunch because it goes with your circadian rhythm. For
yeah.
my friends that are scared of using a CGM, can you break it down for them and talk them off the ledge a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. And nobody ever believes me, but it really truly is painless. So I'm sure you can reiterate that. But I always describe it as like an easy button. If people remember that, pretty soon they're like, we're not going to remember that anymore, or the younger generation might not. But
Yes.
so it's really kind of a little contraption. You put it in the back of your arm and you just click the little button and then it's there. So what it's doing is it's little flexible filament that's going just below the surface of the skin. And that's kind of measuring your data or your glucose in that interstitial fluid. So it's not even to the depth of a blood vessel, which is why it really isn't painless or painful. And it stays on there for 2 weeks at a time. So you shower with it, you exercise with it, you do all the things with it, and you really truly don't notice it at all. And if anyone's ever done like the finger pricks at home where you're checking your glucose that way, that is much worse, much more painful. So as a comparison point, this is really nothing compared to that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I was so scared the first time, and my friend, who's a registered dietitian,
Mhm.
she had to talk me through the whole process. I'm just pacing,
Mhm.
sweating, so stressed about it. And then I finally did it, and it was nothing. I feel like the click is the scariest part. The click is kind
Yeah.
of loud, but you don't feel anything when it
It's
goes.
true. Whenever I do it for someone else, usually for their first time, they're like, "You do it." And then they're like, wait, is it in? Like they don't even realize that it's done because you truly can't feel it. So, but doing the first one is a little intimidating. We have lots of videos, of course, if you need to watch them, but I promise it's quick and easy and painless.
It's not scary. And like she said too, it's not a needle going into your skin. The needle like goes in quickly to put in the little filament, but you're not walking around with a needle
Exactly.
in your arm
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone is interested in learning more about improving blood sugar regulation, of course, wearing a CGM is a great starting point. Are there any other resources that you like or you would recommend?
Yeah. So, well, we do have a blog on the NutriSense website where we have a lot of content. So, we've been doing that blog for 6 years now. So, kind of any topic you could probably think about related to glucose and metabolic health, we've likely covered. So, that's a really good place just to learn. And we have a newsletter as well where we're kind of posting both customer stories with their data and takeaways, but also research that's coming out and other topics. So, that's a really good place. You can follow both myself and NutriSense on Instagram. There are a few other that we're friends with that put out great content. If anyone's heard of Glucose Goddess, she's pretty popular now, so she has good little hacks if you're looking for small kind of swaps to do. So those are the places I would recommend starting if you're kind of interested in the topic.
Okay, perfect. So I'll include links to all of those in the show notes. You guys can find Kara and NutriSense and follow their blog. So the title of the podcast is Healthy in Real Life. What's something that you do in your own routine to create a consistent, sustainable, healthy lifestyle for yourself?
Yeah, I love that question. And one thing, there's lots of little micro habits I do that I think help build an overall kind of healthy routine. But one thing I always talk to my clients about, and what we have our dietitians talk about, is trying to start really small until that is such an ingrained habit that it feels like it's part of your identity. So, almost how I build habits, I think, is the important part where you don't think twice, hopefully, about brushing your teeth in the morning. So it's like so ingrained as a habit where now I don't think twice at all about getting movement in every single day, because I am a person who moves every day. So whether that's classically going to the gym every day, or going on a really long walk, building kind of those micro habits that eventually stack up. So I have lots of those. It's 20 minutes in the morning of not checking my phone and reading a book before I kind of do anything. So starting my morning right. It's that little alarm once an hour while I'm working, because I work probably too much, that goes off. And then I remember that I need to move. So I have a standing desk with a little treadmill underneath. I try to walk on that as much as possible. And kind of deep breathing throughout the day. So lots of little micro habits to kind of have that sort of sustainable approach to both movement and stress management and kind of healthy eating.
Yes, I love that tip so much. And I'm a big believer in habit stacking as well. So things that
Mhm.
you can tie together so that they're related, so that it all just kind of blends together throughout the day. So I like the alarm tip. I haven't done that and I'm going to start doing that now.
Yeah, definitely. And if you have a smartwatch, you can always program it to do it through that as well.
Okay, perfect. So I'll include links in the show notes. You guys can find Kara. You can check out NutriSense. I have a code for you guys too. It's Gina30, and that'll get you 30% off. You guys also reduce the prices of your CGMs too. So I feel like it's so much more accessible. It's not something you need to do forever. Do it a couple of times, see what's going on with your blood sugar, take notes, connect with their amazing coaches and registered dietitians. They'll help you interpret the data. I think a lot of people go off on their own and try to do this, but when you're first using a CGM, it can be overwhelming, especially when it comes to interpreting like what's happening in your body, why is this spiking, so they can really help you break it all down.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do happen to have, this is also a new offering, your own sensor from somewhere, you can do kind of our bring your own sensor program. And it's a much cheaper monthly fee to just access our app and the dietitian support. So that's another option for people if they kind of need that extra support.
Okay, perfect. So I'll include links in the show notes. You guys can check it out. Thank you so much for being here today. It was so great to chat with you and to see you. And thank you for the work that you're doing. I think that you're impacting the health of so many people. So thank you for what you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for listening to the Healthy in Real Life podcast. For more info, check out Gina's blog at fitnessista.com.